Alright guys, how you doing? It's May 2nd here at Convivium Urban Farmstead. We're working on the roof framing members this week. We made some good progress last week and this week. We did have a change up that in my last video I kind of mentioned how we were going to attach this stuff and what we're doing differently. So I'm going to show you here. So we're using this folded steel as basically an attachment point for the tracking that the fabric actually goes into. So you can see we have it bolted where each C channel, this is the C channel, the horizontal C channel. This is our starting point, and this is the folded steel furring channels that we're setting up. So we've drilled through and used stainless bolts, washers, nuts, nylon lock washer or lock nuts, and so we have one up there, one here, and then because we need to elevate this furring strip up to the gutter line level, we just simply used a triple nut system where we have the bolt coming up from the bottom. We have a nut basically holding that bolt in place on the angle iron here. There's actually wedged between, this is two pieces of angle iron on the ends, and then you can't see up inside there, but there is another nut that we're using to lift the lift or drop the level of the furring strip, and then we'll attach it on with another nut and washer at the top here. I do need to get some 4-inch bolts. These are actually 3-inch bolts. I needed just a little bit more thread because when we put the track on here, it needs to, that stuff's about 3/8 of an inch thick, and then so we'll need a little bit extra thread plus some to actually put the nut and washers on. But you can kind of see how it does curve from that C channel to the level of our gutter line, which is fine. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not. It actually, you know, the snow and any water should just shed right off. The goal is to put the track on here. When we put the fabric in, the fabric lays across here and then just kind of overlays it a little bit, and then you put a furring strip onto this to lock it in place. And that way the water coming running down the roof will kind of shed that furring strip, drop over and drop right into the gutter, kind of drip, flow right into the gutter. So that's the whole point of that. And then we got our second piece on now. This is very important, not so much that the folded steel is 6 foot exactly on center, but the tracking that goes onto it has to be 6 foot on center, because this plastic it doesn't have, it's kind of like polycarbonate, it doesn't have a lot of give, and so when it's got these two little beads on either side of the plastic that run up through these slots in the track. So if the track is too wide, you're not going to be able to pull that up because it's going to bind. You're not going to be able to pull it up the track when you install. It'll bind on those wider parts and not pull through. But if it's too narrow, then you're going to get that sag in that plastic. So it's really critical that we get the tracking on 6 foot on center. So what we're originally going to do is attach it like this, where we again have our 4 bolts that I had to drill through the C channel. It's about 1/4 inch steel, but good metal bits, good carbide metal bits with some tap oil. It cut through like butter. I mean, it really wasn't that big of a deal. Low and slow, a lot of oil, and it just maybe a minute or so of drilling at low speed, keeping that bit lubricated, and it popped right through. So no problems there. Didn't really anticipate any. But again, we bolted it with these stainless steel sidewalk bolts that I found. These are super... okay, so this bolt, if I order it through Fastenal, is 13 cents a bolt. Okay, this is what it looks like. It's got a very, very low crown, and it's got a Phillips head on it, which I wish it had more of a star tip instead of a Phillips or a slot, but whatever. What I wanted was this low profile bolt that was stainless steel. So a stainless steel bolt, low profile, 3 inches with that awesome sidewalk bolt head that's on there, 13 cents a piece from Fastenal online. Okay. This bolt, which I think, oh no, this one's a 4-inch. I'm sorry, we need a 5-inch bolt here, but these bolts are 4-inch bolts on this side. These are standard, you know, stainless. Actually, these were zinc. I think we bought zinc just to make sure that it would fit and do the right purpose, but we'll have to swap these out for stainless. But either way, this one is like $1.18 a piece, and it's zinc. So I'm gonna find 5-inch sidewalk bolts like that. This is at Menards, $1.18 for a zinc-coated 4-inch bolt, when a 3-inch stainless steel, you know, construction quality stainless steel bolt was 13 cents a piece. So even if I got the 4 or 5-inch ones, I'm still gonna come out way ahead of buying. I want to support local businesses, believe me, but you know, Menards is kind of local. It's a Wisconsin-based company, but I just can't. You know, I mean, not for that price, not for what we need. It would be dumb not to. So we got our test sections up anyway. Make a long story short, this is the test section. Now we found that when we go to put the tracking on, we're gonna have to pull this bolt out, clamp the track on here, make sure it's 6 foot on center, and then drill with a right angle drill attachment onto our drill. We have to drill up through that steel, up through the plastic, and then send that bolt back down and tighten everything down onto it. Well, we've already done all that already here. Now we're gonna undo it, clamp the plastic track on there, drill it again, and if that drill head walks by any means, and it shifts that track slightly left or slightly right, because you see there's really not a whole lot of place to clamp on here. You got this little webbing here, but that's about it. If that, even though the folded steel is 6 feet on center, the track may not be. So I was like, how do we get around that? Well, we went ahead and put our order in for the track and the covering material, and we asked them to send the tracking ahead of time. What we're gonna do is I have a little workplace over there where I'm gonna pre-assemble all these beams. And to avoid all that extra work and to avoid any inaccuracies, we'll attach the plastic track when we get it in about 2, I think maybe 3 weeks. We'll attach it to those pre-made members, and it'll be all one component. Then we can install the component onto the roof and space them exactly 6 feet apart. And what we're doing is we're using these story sticks. It's kind of a woodworking thing. It's so you make these in either a length of stick or a stick with brackets on there, so that if you want to space something consistently, accurately every single time, without having to get the tape measure out and measuring and all that, every time we lay these story sticks on this piece of steel on one end and that piece of steel on the other end, it's going to force it to be exactly 6 feet on center, because that's exactly what we made those story sticks. So that's going to give us that perfectly accurate spacing all the way down. So we'll have to make new story sticks, because with the tracking on top, it doesn't match the profile of the folded steel. So that's not a big deal. But this thing is perfectly straight. May not look like it, but it is. It does curve up a little bit to meet that gutter line, but that's fine. We're going to continue that all the way down this side and all the way down that side, so we don't have any variation. It's not going to affect the watershed or the snow shed of the roof. If it does, we'll, you know, if we need to add in some supports at a later time, we will. But I think we'll be fine. And so then I'll kind of show you how I'm making these ribs here. I'm going to pause the video so I'm not running on.